Hi, I'm Ben Roman, full-blooded Puerto Rican boy from born in Brooklyn, raised in Texas, and I've been out for about 6 years, 7 years to everybody. I was out to myself about 10 years ago when I was 21, and the moment of realization was I kind of had a sexual encounter with a couple. With a guy-girl couple when I was traveling for my work, and what I thought was going to be him and me interacting with her turned into her disappearing and then the two of us interacting. And as soon as we connected, electricity shot through my body like I had never experienced before. And I had been dating women up until then, and that's kind of when I knew. And I remember laying there, vividly laying there and watching that ceiling fan over the bed go really slow. I could totally see that ceiling fan in my head right now, just spinning slowly, and I'm laying there and everyone's asleep and I'm wide awake and I'm looking at the fan thinking like, oh my God, I'm gay. I'm gay. It explains so much. So that's the moment that I found out, or that I knew to myself, but I didn't really come out to my friends and family till a few years later. And I came out to my two little brothers first, and they were pretty cool about it. The middle one is probably the biggest fan of having a gay brother in the whole wide world. He's probably the one that every gay man or woman would love to have a sibling like my brother. So much so that even when I'm not around and someone says something is gay or makes a gay joke, he will stand up to a stranger and say, "That's not cool, I have a gay brother," you know, and totally stand up for me, and that's really cool. And my youngest brother is kind of religious. My dad is a minister, and my mom obviously is a preacher's wife and a kindergarten teacher, and I grew up kind of like an army brat, because my dad was a church doctor, and we would move from town to town every few years fixing congregations that needed help and didn't have leadership and were struggling, and my dad would go in, fix them up. My mom would become the head of the choir. I'd sing in the choir, I'd be president of the youth group, and we would just do that, you know, like for my whole life. So we moved around a lot, like an army brat. So coming out to my brothers was really important first. My youngest brother is very religious, and he is kind of caught in the middle. He's the kid that he's like, I love my brother, and I know my brother is a good person, but I've been told that being gay is a sin, and I don't know what to do. You know, do I hate the sin, love the sinner? So he's torn because he thinks that homosexuality should be evil, but he loves his older brother, and his brother's not evil. So we're working with him, and hopefully over time that'll settle itself out. But I came out to my parents a few years ago via email. Unfortunately, my family's not very close when it comes to sitting around the dinner table. We never had heart-to-hearts. Even when I was closeted dating women, you know, my family, we never talked about who we had crushes on or who we were dating or who we liked, and we never really got into each other's personal business, which is kind of one of my regrets, and hopefully we can fix that as time goes by. So it just never came up. So it was easier for me to send an email to mom and dad and just say, hey, mom and dad, I'm gay, and then kind of break down all the things that I knew that they'd be worried about. You know, I had to first of all say, it's all right, Mom, just so you know, I don't have AIDS, I'm not HIV positive, I'm perfectly healthy, you know, I practice safe sex and all that kind of fun stuff. And then the biggest thing for me with them, since they're, you know, ministers, is to say, just so you know, this isn't something that I've been struggling with. I'm at peace with God, I'm at peace with my Creator, and I feel like this is the way God created me. And that's kind of the biggest hurdle with them, is they responded back, because I have an amazing parents that never ever ever you know, made me do something I didn't want to do, never made me feel bad. They said, you know what, we have to absorb this. You know how we feel about homosexuality according to the Bible, but we love you. And I couldn't have asked for a better response than that. So if anything, coming out to them has kind of made us a little bit closer. The family around the dinner table that really didn't talk about anything, we're kind of talking about things now. And we even got as far as, I mentioned that I had a date to my mom on the phone the other day, and she kind of paused for a moment and said, okay. And because she knew that if we talked any further that I would start using things like he and him and use a boy's name. So she's like, well, enjoy yourself on your date. So that was kind of a big step for a church mom to do that. So
tell me a little bit about you know, whether or not you've ever experienced any form of discrimination or prejudice because of your sexuality.
Oh. What discrimination that I've experienced has been kind of interesting because I've fortunately never been a victim, a huge victim of a big discrimination case or something to where I felt like I needed to pick up a flag and a banner and march from my own experience. What's actually kind of funny is before I even knew I was gay or even thought that I was gay, in high school I was a male cheerleader, which that should have been a sign. But I was a male cheerleader, and I was the only male cheerleader on the squad, actually the first male cheerleader the school's ever had in South Texas. And South Texas is very Latino and it's very conservative. And if anything, I got more discrimination being the male cheerleader, walking down the halls and having people under their breath and yelling, you know, faggot, or like as they like to say in, you know, the Hanos, like joto, and then they would just make lots of comments about the fact that, you know, I was gay because I was a cheerleader.
Okay.
I think the way that you know your friends, because friendship doesn't happen on accident, are people that all do the same thing or have the same interests, and you just kind of happen to align with each other. And the Brat Pack, you know, the Knights, the WeHo Knights, our group of friends are all people that we never planned on being friends. We all planned on doing our thing, and our objectives and our goal to improve our community, to have fun, sometimes too much fun, have brought all of our paths together. So to me, it's we're the guys in WeHo who are trying to make everything better, have a good time while we're at it, and then really make a difference together. And it just happens to be that we've all come together and our paths have aligned, and we're doing it as a group, changing the world. I think I can't think of a time in my life where I didn't know 100% with my whole being that I wanted to be a performer. I've always known that at some level, and the earliest time I can remember, 6th grade play, cast to be the lead. It was a musical, and as soon as I got on that stage and sang a note and danced a step in front of the huge audience as a 6th grader, like the bug bit me, like the hook got me, and I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do, even though I didn't know how to do it. My favorites back in the day that inspired me were Janet Jackson, Paula Abdul, you know, Ricky Martin. Those are all the performers that danced and they sang, and they inspired me to videotape their music videos, their performances, and then I wore those tapes out in my room with the door closed, learning all the steps. And I just remember growing up saying, I want to do that, but I want to do it for my community. I want to do it for the Latin community. At the time, I didn't realize I was gay, but I want to do it in Spanish, I want to do it in English. There's no one out there in the Spanish market that, you know, you want to watch all their dance steps and learn all their routines and perform them in the clubs and in your room and in singing in the shower and whatnot. So that's when I knew. So I try to make a difference in my community through that. I'm a starving artist, just like the stereotype goes, and a starving artist can't necessarily give $1,000 or even $50 to all the many charities in West Hollywood and in Hollywood and in the gay community who need those funds to battle human rights efforts and issues, to raise money for AIDS and cancer research. You know, starving artists can't do that. So I try to do it through my music, through my example. When it came time for my second album, because I do have a first album, it's in you know, pop en español, it's a Spanish pop album. Think Ricky Martin meets Justin Timberlake, and that's kind of the vibe, and I released it a few years ago. And when it came time for the second album, and we were thinking another Spanish album, and I was closeted professionally at the time, even had a music video with me and a beautiful, beautiful blonde girl model. And when that helped me realize, do I really want to do another album? In the closet. And that's when I was inspired by things in the community like the WeHo Awards, things like, you know, Joshua Miller and Shane Hawk and all the other Brats and Knights, seeing the things they were doing inspired me to make a difference and come out.